Welcome to Donuts, Design, and Debate, the live recorded podcast where you get to tell us, is this good design or not, by voting for a topic and giving it donuts. That's right, we've decided donuts are the way to decide if something is good design. Why? Alliteration. Donuts, design, debate, 3Ds. What more reason do you need besides that? I'm your host, Aaron Dietzen, and joining us today is our own Matt Robison and our special guest, Marina Bourderonnet. Oh, I knew I was going to mess it up. Let's try that again. She's an awesome guest, and the problem is I asked her how to say her name, and she told me, and now I'm self-conscious about it. Marina Bourderonnet is going to be joining us. She is an architect and principal of Fame Architects. They are going to be debating the topic of attached garages. So the idea of taking a garage and slapping it onto the front of your residential structure. Garages aren't new things, of course. Garages go way back. As long as we've had cars, we've had garages. And in fact, if you think about things like horse stalls, we've actually had garages since before we've had cars. Originally, garages were detached. They were their own buildings. They were off on the side of your property. If you had a car, you had a garage built and it was separate from your house. Then at some point, somebody decided that it was not fun to walk outdoors from your garage over to your house. So they figured, well, let's just attach the two. And that kind of happened. That was about like 1920s or so is when that started to gain popularity. Got a little more 1930s, people were putting more and more garages actually connecting to houses. At the time, those were typically around the back of the house. So the front of the house was still the front of the house, and then you would drive usually in an alley around back into your garage. Post-war, though, more and more traffic was kind of, well, there's more cars, more people driving around, so there's more traffic. So the traffic flow along the street became more important. Rear alleyways started to go away. And fewer garages ended up on the back of the building. The 1970s, 1980s, the backyard became a really important part of a house and a lot. That became where family time happens, where that kind of stuff happens. So in general, architecture and houses moved away from the idea of sitting out on the front stoop or in front of the house and interacting with everybody and pull that into the backyard. By pulling that in the backyard, it meant that there wasn't a spot to pull into a garage back there, so garages kind of moved around to the front of the house. It's kind of become a standard at this point, so whether it's good, bad, you might have your own opinion on it, but that's exactly what we're going to try to figure out right now. So I'm going to bring up our guests, our own Matt Robison and Marina Bourderonnet, to debate this specific topic. Welcome up, guys. All right. Marina, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me today. I'm really excited to have this debate.
Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be real good. So I did introduce you as architect and principal of Fame Architects. How long have you been doing the architecture thing?
We started our own office with David about 3 years ago now, but we've been architect practicing for the last, over 10 years, basically. So it's been in our heart and in our brain for quite a while, honestly.
I like it. And we actually came across you via your podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast you do with David?
Yeah, we started the Second Studio podcast about 5.5 years ago now. It actually used to be called The Midnight Charrette, and we decided to rebrand a couple years ago, trying to tie it back to the office somehow. We've been doing a lot of interviews. So we interview architects. We also have series to help designers and series that are maybe more toward clients. So that's what we focus on.
Yeah, I love the podcast, and really, I think what's so great about it is the direct, actionable advice and experience that you guys have for all the different aspects of the architecture and design process. You mentioned clients, or also just kind of day-to-day, boots on the ground architects. I like the variety of good information you've got for all kinds of different people. So yeah, love the show. And I would say to all of our listeners here, if you haven't checked it out, definitely check out Second Studio Pod.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we try to share, but we have some experience at least, and we've done a lot of different things in New York, and we know that sometimes you could feel like you're kind of alone in your old architectural world. So trying to share what we've experienced and what we know, I feel could be helpful to people, and it seems like it's been so far. So we like it.
That's awesome. I feel like we could just go in and talk more about that, but we should probably get on with the show.
Yeah, let's do it.
Folks, it's time to debate. All right. So we've kind of discussed what we're going to talk about. The way we do this around here is we're going to start with our pro argument. So Matt is actually going to argue in favor of these garages. He's going to give us a couple minutes now of why he thinks they're a good thing. And when we're done, Marina's going to be able to hop in and defend her position. So we'll do that, and then after they've given us a lot to think about, a lot to chew on, we'll switch over and we'll start our voting if you're part of the live audience. If you're not part of the live audience, you can't vote. I'm sorry, because it's already happened in the past. But you could join us next time, so you could come vote on the next one. So join us live. It's great. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Matt, and he's going to tell us why attached garages are bad design.
Or good design, rather.
Good design.
No problem. Yeah, hey, I got a fire for both sides, but definitely I think that garages and garage doors, garages on single-family homes are great design, and there's a couple of reasons why. I think designs are necessary, but also garages are necessary in a single-family home environment. You have, obviously storage in there. You park your car in there. But you also have other vehicles. You might have ATVs or a boat you could put in there, or other vehicles, bicycles you could store in there. You could store tools, or you could store toys for the kids. But I think there's also a security aspect that's good for garages. It's attached to your home. It's lockable. It's part of a place where you can keep things secure. You might not want to have things that are large or otherwise unwieldy inside your actual home. So having the garage there to keep stuff in and keep it safe is important. And like I said, it is a necessary part of living in a single family home. And I think because it's necessary, that it has to be part of the design. And, that's part of the design consideration. There are constraints on every design, architecturally or otherwise. And so needing a garage in a house is a constraint you can't get around. Having it in the front of the house is a benefit for a number of reasons. Look, you might want to have, like Aaron mentioned, have the garage off the back of the house. But if you don't have an alleyway or some way to access it from the back, unfortunately, that's not part of the consideration. You could say, okay, well, if you have the road in the front and then you have a long driveway around the side to pull into a garage on the back, maybe that would be good. But unfortunately, then you're having larger driveway. You have less room for trees and other landscaping in your yard. And it's more of kind of a zigzag you have to go through to get your car from the road into your house. Some people don't like the look of how garages are on a single family home. A lot of houses without any regulations are going to end up with sort of a large percentage of that front elevation is going to be taken up by the garage and the garage door. But I think that's really due to the lot size and the constraints put on by the property owners, who, because they want more lots in a particular subdivision, have very narrow affordances for how much frontage street space a house has. So unfortunately, because a garage is necessary, sometimes it just ends up in the front of the house, and that's just what it is. Some people don't like the look, but hey, you got to have it in there somewhere, and you can't really pull around the side. I think there's a lot of cool things you can do to make garages look nice. Obviously, architects are creative people and have ways to make the design of a garage fit with a home. I think that if the idea is, look, we want to have less garage is taking up less of the front of a house, I think that's something that we have to take up with, zoning and regulations for, can you access, the home just from the back, or should there be, other considerations that are enforced in order to not have the end of your design have to have the garage in the front of the house. Hey, they're necessary. And look, I think people are going to find good ways to design them because I believe in designers, and garages, therefore, are good design. That's it for me.
All right. Well put. Let's pass this over. Let's see what Marina has to say about why garages are bad.
Well, yeah, I think they are bad. I think they're bad. I'm an architect and I love design, and so to me, the front of the house is probably the most important face of a house. So when I drive around neighborhood and all I see is those two garage door that takes 2/3 of the main elevation, I feel sad inside, honestly, because I'm like, we're losing the character of the house. Like, to me, the house should be about the front door, the procession from getting out of your car, walking up to the front door and getting inside your house, and not being welcomed by a giant door that's, oftentimes blind, there's no light going through. It's just this really strong panel. I also feel like, we inherited garages from a long time ago, right? Like when there was horses and things like that. And then when cars started to develop, and maybe they were not fully enclosed, and then they were very expensive. So we have to protect them from, them being stolen and all of those things, which makes sense, right? And therefore, garages in single family homes have been, the things that you have to have on your list. It's a standard and nobody questions it. And that's where I come in. I like to question standards. I think the 50s and the 60s were very much more about designing things around cars. And I think we're probably trying to move away from that and maybe back to things that have more human values and looking at the future differently. So that's why I'm questioning, new homes that are being built today. Should the garage the garage be built the same way and thought about the same way it was, 50 years ago? And I don't think it's very smart, honestly. Also because cars are evolving, and I'm hoping that, we don't need to. Basically, a car is a box, and we're building a garage. We're building a box around a box, and to me, it's kind of silly, right? If you think about garages, half of the time they're empty. The car is not there. Or if you do have garage, you have driveways, you could just leave your car in the driveway. Then it depends on, sure, neighborhoods and what kind of cars you have. If you have a Ferrari, you might want to keep it in and away from, people maybe scratching it or damaging it. I understand that. But in that case, you could also think about the garage as being integrated with the house differently, right? I also think that if you look back at what architects have done with garages, if you look at, Frank Lloyd Wright or even the mid-century homes, there was carports that were extremely well integrated with the architecture. They were providing shelter coming out of your house to get in your car, and you could leave your car under without having to hide it necessarily. I feel like oftentimes, I would be curious actually to do a survey and see how many people in the US are actually using the garage for the purpose it's meant to, which is host your car. I see a lot of garages, especially in suburbia, where it's basically a super messy storage room that's just crammed with all the stuff that doesn't fit anywhere else in the house. Or in more positive ways, maybe it's a place where people will start a band, or people will start an office, or even here in San Francisco, for example, in some of the areas, garages, people actually turn it into an ADU so they can rent it as a living unit for students and make extra money. So what's interesting to me is how the garages are being transformed and used as something else. And I think that says that people feel like they don't need the garage to put their car in anymore. So that's pretty. I think that's pretty interesting. In terms of design, I also think that, unfortunately, we're limited with what's available out there, right? The types of doors, the size of doors, and oftentimes you just feel like you're driving a Home Depot aisle, and every neighbor has picked a different model that was available. I think there is very creative ways you can really integrate or even design a garage door that's a little bit different and maybe part of the language of the house, of the architecture, and not just something that you had to stick on because, you know, you needed a door and the code told you needed a garage. Therefore, here we are. And that's the architecture and that's your front elevation. But, you know, I also understand that not every home could have an architect look at them. But I think kind of putting out there for people who even are doing their house without an architect that you should think about where you want that facade to look like. And is it around the garage or is it not around the garage?
All right. Well, I would say compelling points on both sides. I had a comment that I was going to make. I'm like, no, we'll hold that. I'll hold that till afterwards. You guys want to hear about my thoughts on garages? You have to wait till after the show. So with this, though, we will hop into voting. So here's how it's going to work if you are live in our audience. We are going to take our principles one at a time. Our principles being, is this design useful? Does this design have aesthetic appeal? Is this design simple? Is this design environmentally friendly? And does this design feel honest? We're going to run through them one at a time. And both of our debaters are going to give about a minute or so on why you should vote from their point of view. So if you're part of this live studio audience, that means you get to vote. And I urge you, please do vote. Don't leave this to the other guys. They're going to get it wrong. You guys got this. You, specifically you, vote. And with that, we'll actually be able to tell if this is good design or not. If you're just listening, like I said before, sorry you can't vote. But if you join us live next time, you can cast your vote and make your voice be heard. So with all that, let's hop right in. We're going to start with, is this design useful? And Marina, you are our guest, so you get to go first. Give us a minute or so on why this is useful.
I mean, yeah, you can make a garage. You could use a garage for anything, right? So in that sense, it is useful. If it's meaningful, if it's necessary, I'm not sure. Again, I don't think we need to keep our cars in garages. If it's a storage room, that maybe we just need to declutter our homes, and therefore we don't need to build that extra 8x10 or even bigger room. We could always make things useful if we need it. I think that's really like the biggest question.
All right, Matt.
Of course, garages are useful, not only like Marina mentioned, to park your car in, but it is a multi-use space. And I think that has become what garages are used for, whether it is storage or whether it is, look, some people are, my friend has a golf simulator in his garage that he uses for the winter. So it's like you can do more than one thing, but it's sort of this inside-outside area that you can use it for just having your Ferrari in, like you said, or you can do other stuff in it. So the usefulness comes down to leaving it up to the homeowner to decide what to use it for, and I think that's why it's a useful design.
All right, last few opportunities to vote here. Get your ballot cast. Click on yes or no. We're gonna have to go with yes. First donut has been won.
Oh, come on.
I know. All right. So let's keep moving. This may be the redemption point. Does this design have aesthetic appeal? Matt, you're going to go first on this one. Give us a minute.
Okay. So look, let's be frank up front. I don't think that the front of a house should be dominated by a garage door, but I don't think that it necessarily has to be. And also, you can make garage doors aesthetic. Marina, you mentioned that not any light comes through, but you can get the garage doors that have the little windows in them. Or I used to drive by in Freeland, Michigan, of all places, wonderful town, but they have on the main strip this house, and on the front is a mural of wolf howling at the moon, like one of those shirts that has it on. Beautiful, wonderful wolf there. So I think you can make it whatever you want, and if you think that's aesthetic, then hey, that's aesthetic to you, so vote yes.
All right, Marina.
I think that's the issue. If you start making it whatever you want and you have wolf on it, that's not good. That's not good. I think aesthetically, no, the garages are terrible. I mean, out of, 20 houses you would take driving around town, like how many of them actually look good? Again, if you look at like beautiful homes, you don't see the garage doors, right? If it's done well, it's still there. You might still have a garage to store your donuts, like Peter from Virginia is doing, and it's fine. But just just don't make it about the garage. I think really, to me, like when the house can satisfy both the pragmatic while enhancing the design and the vision and the character of a house, that's what's, to me, it's more important. And sometimes the garage is just taking over everything else.
All right. Well, Marina had the more compelling argument there, despite Matt's argument that you could paint a wolf mural on it. You guys saw through that.
If that's what you want. I'm not saying I want a wolf on my house, but some people do.
Apparently nobody here.
Yeah, it looks like in Michigan, yeah.
All right, let's keep moving forward, moving through these. Marina, you're going to go first this time. Is this design simple?
Oh, I mean, garages are oftentimes, pretty simple. Simple doesn't mean good, right? I think if it lacks character, if it lacks detail, if it lacks attention, if it lacks tying back to the bigger picture, simple isn't always good. And sometimes people are trying too hard even to make it blend or, make it into something, which could be also pretty bad. So again, I think, you could approach it very simply, and maybe that's the best way to make a garage look good, is just keep it simple, keep it minimal, and keep it hidden. That would probably be my recommendation if really you needed a garage.
All right. Wolfpack Robinson, what do you got to say about that?
I think that garages are definitely simple because, look, they're dealing within constraints. And if the only way you can access, because of setbacks and, no alleyway, the only way you can access your house to park a car in it from the road is straight up the middle, that's the simplest explanation. That's Occam's razor. All else being equal, just have that garage right up top, right up front, and drive straight in because, hey, that's simple, baby. Yes, the polls are closed for this one, and so that means not simple, no donut for simplicity here today on this show. Let's address the chat while we're here. Some people saying garages are sad.
Yeah, garages they're death. We gotta stop with garages. It's silly. And everybody here says, oh yeah, I use my garage for like an extra kitchen. Again, keep my donuts, put my tools. Mm-hmm. But then if you actually don't use it that much for the car, then does it even need to be a garage, or could it just be another room instead of being designed as a garage?
All right, we're coming to what could be the principle that challenges our arguers the most. Is this design environmentally friendly? Matt, show Marina how it's done.
So, look, I think there's a bunch of things we can say about environmental friendliness of attached garages. But one thing I want to point out is, people who have electric cars, and maybe you don't have if you have a charger and an electric car, you're going to put that in the garage. That's where you're going to charge your car overnight for your electric car, which is good for the environment. And also, sometimes when people get a new fridge, they have this old fridge, you put it in the garage, and then you can use it as for drinks or whatever. So that's not going in the landfill. So that's environmentally friendly as well. A couple great reasons by me why they are.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough, though.
Sounds like Marina's got this. Fire away.
Well, I'm also a LEED certified architect, right? So it's about sustainability. To me, again, garages are not environmentally friendly because honestly, you are adding more to your lot coverage, right? If you look at your plot of land and how much footprint your house takes and how much the garage is part of that footprint, it's quite a chunk. That also means that if you're built on that area, well, you're building basically a place where water cannot go, right? Instead of allowing water to seep through the ground. You add that the labor, the cost of materials, and all of it takes to, again, build that box, which most of the time is empty and hosting a bunch of useless things. It's really not environmentally friendly. The electric car, if you have an electric car and you still have a garage, then no, you don't care about sustainability. You could have your, your charging station on the front of your house or the side of your house. You just need a plug. Basically, you don't need a box to host a plug to put your fancy electric car, right? I think, if you want to be environmentally friendly, you should think about building smaller homes, smaller footprints. And again, I think, garages really encourage, urban sprawl and suburban sprawl, where everybody just wants big things and a lot of spaces, and they don't really care about how much we're eating on the planet, really. So that's my argument.
Yeah, take that, electric cars.
Yeah.
Once again, it's another no. So we're four principles in with a single donut.
Well done.
All right, Matt, this is your opportunity to redeem yourself, but you got to go after Marina. Marina's going to start in telling us why this design feels honest.
Well, I don't think it feels honest to have a garage because it's not something that people come up with, right? It's something that's required by code. You have to provide for a single family home, a 1-2 car garage, depending on its size. So it's not something that you necessarily want, something you have to have. And again, I think as we were talking through the comments, garages are not used as garage. Therefore, it's not really honest to label it a garage and design it as a garage if it's not going to be used as what it's supposed to be. So to me, no, it's not really honest. Garages are not honest things.
Well, I think there's like a difference between what a design intends to be and then what somebody uses it for. But I think when you're designing it, from my experiences not being an architect, designing a garage to say that people are going to put their car in there. That's what you make it for, or that's what the code says it's for, or whatever it is. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm saying that's where you put your car in a house. There's not any other place that's going to say put your car here. So it's part of the home, and it's not afraid to be. Look, we're welcoming to people in the front door. We're welcoming to cars in the garage, and we don't discriminate here with my garage forward architecture firm.
Yeah. Those were things that were said. Unfortunately, did not swing anybody. Big no on that. So, end of the day, attached garages get a single donut. Well done. Well argued. Whew, that was some good stuff. I mean, there's a couple. Environmentally friendly is one that I'm always on that I'm never 100% certain about, because it always ends up being a little bit. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to argue. Yeah. And then honesty too is one of those where you can make, and I think the argument of that we call it a garage and then store your stuff there. It's not a garage anymore, right? Now it's storage. But that was probably the most compelling honesty argument I've heard in a while. So.
Well, it's not called a car park. That's a car park.
I did not actually look up the Webster's dictionary definition of garage before the episode, so I honestly know I'm about to revote. Back it up.
See, that's number one thing you got to do.
I'm not trying to convince anybody. That's the thing you got to do. That was ammunition you should have brought. Well, that wraps it up for us. So once again, attached garages get a 1 out of 5 donuts. Awesome, good arguments on both sides. I know I'm teasing Matt a little bit because I'm allowed to, but great arguments on both sides for sure. That was a great show. Marina, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if people are interested in what you do, want to hear your podcast, that sort of thing, what is the best way for them to track you down? Hear what you got to say.
The best way is probably to go on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and look up Second Studio Podcast. We are also on, pretty much all the podcast platform. We're also on YouTube, Spotify. You can find us on social media. We're really active on Instagram, and we also have a website, secondstudiopod.com, where all of our episodes. We also have some transcript, and we also even show work images of the people that we interview. If you're curious to see what the people we're having on the show do. So feel free to check it out, reach out. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. We'll be checking it out some more. And thank you for being on our podcast. This was great. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Well, unless there's anything else, I think we can say thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a Trimble Media production. Thanks for listening to Donuts Design and Debate. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest debater, send us an email at donuts@trimble.com. Hey, and take a second to drop a rating if you like the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and take care.